Welcome to It Takes Two. I'm Blair.
I'm Chris.
And today we'll be talking about Married to Medicine, Season 10 Reunion Part 2.
Listen here, we almost at the end of the Married to Medicine season. I think we did a good job. Yep. Make sure y'all go through the playlist and watch from episode 1 all the way up to part 3. I think there's a part 3 to this reunion. Yep. Make sure y'all share, like, comment, all the above. Subscribe to the show. And Blair, you gonna walk us through this?
I am.
Let's go.
We start where we left off before with Quad telling Jackie that she would never do something like that to her, talking about getting the clips to resurface about what she said in her interview with Heavenly.
Yeah.
Jackie says that, look, when you're having stuff, you do not include us in your life.
Okay.
Jackie asks, when we text or call, how long does it take for you to get back to us? Mm-hmm. And Quad says she's bad with that. Jackie says that it makes her feel unimportant. Quad tells her basically that she is important and that's something that she'll be willing to work on.
What do you have to say about this little interaction that they had?
I felt like Quad was doing her best of trying to clear the air with Jackie.
Yeah.
And I do think that Jackie, I mean, even if Quad has stuff, I don't know. I don't know how in line Quad and Jackie's lifestyles are, just because we see Jackie go to work, come home, do her work and do her, entrepreneurial things. Yeah. So I really don't know necessarily how Jackie wants Quad to integrate her into her life. Mm-hmm. But I will say that Quad, you can stand to text or call people back.
Yeah, I think it's a few things I felt about this scene. I do agree with what you said about that. I don't know if they're even on the same playing field outside of them being castmates.
Right.
But I don't want us to get away from the main thing. This is supposed to be about, quote unquote, what Jackie said, not quote unquote of who released it
or who called to check in on me.
like Jackie is not, and I'm not saying Jackie's doing this to herself, but the way that the optics are looking, Jackie's not a victim. The whole point of all of this is not to highlight how much people wasn't a good friend during this time. This was actually an opportunity for Jackie to hammer in hey, what I said was wrong. I don't stand by what I said. It doesn't matter who released it because it was my words and I made that mistake.
Yeah.
This is what I feel. My credentials back that. And I want to make a public live apology to people on this reunion because I know it was going to be a topic. I know I made an apology on live and I made a personal statement, but I knew this was going to be a topic and I just wanted to personally, in front of my castmates and things like that, put y'all in that position that y'all have to answer for me. I want to apologize to y'all publicly. That's how I think it should have went.
Yeah, I don't think it should have been, her.
Who was there for Jackie?
Her turning it into who was there for Jackie. I thought that was wild.
I was I'm sorry that I put y'all in that position that y'all had to answer for what I said. I just want to reiterate, I apologize.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And maybe a little, Buffy, I apologize too. You know what I mean? Like just slide that in there a little bit.
She said she's done with that.
You know what I mean? so
done with it.
So I didn't need this. This whole thing, remember, this scene stems from the whole Jackal debacle thing like that. I did not need this whole, well, when I text you, do you text me back?
Yeah.
When I call you, do you call me back? How do we end up here? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I will say, I'm making an opinion here, guys. I think Jackie thinks highly of herself that if I call you and you don't call me back, I'm Dr. Jackie.
Okay.
You supposed to call me back if I call you. If I take the time out of my busy schedule to call you. If I take the time out to text you, I'm Dr. Jackie. You supposed to text me back. And guess what? People have the right to feel how they feel and things of that nature. And Quad, if you do want people to feel, because Quad, you take some accountability too. If you want people to feel important, you have to put the spotlight on them too.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like. I was like, how did this become about the you don't call me, you don't check up on me thing? This was supposed to be like real talk. Jackie could have really reversed everything that happened.
I mean, I feel like Jackie should have just been speaking to the audience.
Yes,
she didn't even need to acknowledge anybody on the stage.
Exactly. My thing is,
other than a thank you for sticking up for me, but I'm sorry to put y'all in that position.
Jackie could have really reverse engineered all the backlash she got if she would have in that moment like hammered it home that I'm really sorry about it.
Right, just like she do her PSAs, this could have been a PSA
and
moment.
Guess what? And I made changes. These are the changes that I made, and like I think Jackie missed a moment right here. I think she missed a moment where it was thrown down the middle of the plate.
Yeah,
and Andy gave it to her to smack it out the park, and she just whiffed on it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is.
Well, Quad goes into Simone's dressing room, and she wants Simone to let Simone know that she hears her, and she appreciates Simone for being there for her during the hard time with her niece.
Yeah.
Quad said that things were going well, and then this happened. She said, she said I happened. She said that when things were played on television, I got angry and I got mad. So,
hey, listen here. There is a different POV that you get from being in the moment and then seeing how the moment was created without you.
Right.
Because in the moment, you're blindsided by it. But when you see it back on TV, like, oh, y'all planned this against me. Oh, y'all planned invited me, but y'all didn't have a room for me. Oh, y'all planned to ice me out. Oh, y'all planned to have a dinner where y'all call me out. So it looks different and it begins to feel fresh and feels different once you see how the cards was laid out on the table beforehand. That this wasn't such a in the moment thing. Y'all planned to bring me out here and to send me home. Right. You get what I'm saying? So I think Simone, truth be told, Quad is a bigger person than me because I ain't apologizing to you if you bring up my niece. When like that's not what. So behind the scenes, you may have been like rebuilding that relationship, Simone, and things like that. But Simone, I didn't know you was in on the plan. So I straight isolated myself and things of that nature. But like I said, this is what it's about. Like Quad just gonna have to. They gonna make Quad kiss the ring. Yeah. And it's up to Quad to be like, you know what? I'm not gonna kiss it, or I'm gonna bow and just say, you know what? It's my fault. Let's just have a clean slate. You know.
Well, we see Sweet T's package. Yeah. Her health is doing better since having surgery.
Blessings.
And T says, because they're talking about is she going to be infertile? Yeah. And she says it takes up to a year of not being able to conceive is when you're diagnosed as being infertile.
I did not know that.
But she hasn't met the year mark just yet. Quad apparently inferred that T wears fake clothes. Okay. Fake designers. Heavenly said that T told her that she was buying fake stuff to have nice stuff just like the rest of the ladies. And T says that's not true.
I don't know.
T is asking why Quad keeps bringing her up and speaking on her and her husband. And Quad says she can speak on her previous marriage. And then Toya asked Quad, why did you say that T didn't fit into the group? And Quad thinks that there needs to be more growth there. And
what do you think about the scene?
Well, first of all, I don't know if T says she'd be buying fake stuff or not. I don't know. No, Heavenly sometimes embellishes.
That happened at the Watch What Happened Live and things like that. Yeah, where they had Heavenly and Quad on there, and that's when they was like, who out of the group? The question was, out of the group, who be the one wearing fake designer?
And then Heavenly said, T told me she goes out and buys fake stuff.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, I don't know if T told you that.
For one, I don't know. The whole point of me buying fake stuff is that people think that it's real. Right. You get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then the thing about Quad, yes, you can speak on your marriage. And honestly, we're on this show. You're the new girl, the new wife, brought into the season with all of these women who Quad has been working with, friends with, whatever for years. You're going to get talked about.
You have to.
You are going to get talked about.
And to that point, are you done with your point?
No. And then to the point about her not fitting in the group, she doesn't.
Oh, dang. Okay.
And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's refreshing to have T who's raw and real from not being on reality TV. And we get to see somebody who's a little more authentic, who hasn't been jaded by the industry necessarily. Yeah. But no, she doesn't fit in. No.
Are you finished?
I'm done.
I think what Sweet T went through is the freshman year. Heavenly went through it. And things like that. Remember, as much as Heavenly is the anchor, one of the anchors of the show, remember, they used to get on Heavenly too. They used to get on Toya. Well, they kind of still do get on Toya. They used to get on Quad once Quad was introduced. Here's the thing, Sweet T. You need Quad to talk about you. Because outside of Quad talking about you, that's the one that kind of validates your story. Because she's the one that's the ex-wife. So you came in thinking that you can make your own storyline. No, we already had a storyline and script prepared for you. Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
You were kind of supposed to fall in line.
You were supposed to fall in line and basically interact as the new wife with the old wife. And if the old wife don't acknowledge the new wife or the new marriage, you're invisible. And basically, you need Quad to validate you on the show as you are the new wife. You are with Greg. You gotta remember, Lateasha, because here's my only problem with Sweet Tea. When she comes on the show and she speaks of things, she speaks as if she's a fan because she was a fan of the show. Yeah. And it comes off as groupie. It's not knowledge that you know. It's knowledge that you've seen with your eyes that we seen. You know, that time.
And we don't know nothing.
Exactly. So my thing is like.
You're not giving us no inside scoop or nothing.
So whenever you say things like Mariah said and da-da-da-da-da, you don't know Mariah. Right. So you only know what Mariah said based on what you've seen in the past 10 seasons. So I'm like, many times than not, you don't sound like a castmate of the show, Sweet Tea. You sound like a fan of the show that just so happens to have a slot on the cast. And that could be a problem, but outside of that, you need Quad or needed Quad to validate your position on the show. Because you got to remember something. When Quad got divorced from Greg, Greg wasn't on the show. So this is Greg's return to the show, and you are the new wife. If Quad doesn't acknowledge Greg or doesn't acknowledge you, the whole reason of y'all being back on the show falls flat. Yeah. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah. Thank Quad.
Well, T was hoping that the women would welcome her into the group. Yeah. And I think that's just a naivety. I mean, honestly, they were light on you. They were actually very light on you.
Heavenly wasn't even heavily this season, to be honest.
She really wasn't. No. She wasn't coming at you. I mean, the way that she talked about Contessa and talking about Contessa and really hazing that lady in her face in person, nobody did you like that. No. Nobody did you like that.
It could be worse.
Yeah. It wasn't until social media, and I get her being upset over the social media stuff because it did get pretty dark.
Heavenly do be wild sometimes.
Yeah. Well, apparently Heavenly was the one who invited her to the group, but she noticed that things shifted once she was actually a part of the cast.
Oh, you thought... Listen here. that goes back to naive. Yeah. Hey, I'm going to invite you on the show, but on the show, I have to be Dr. Heavenly.
Exactly. like I'm not going to be like buddy cool with you the way that I was off camera. Like, I have a job to do.
Yes. And if I was to come there and be peacemaker, that's not me playing my role. Yeah. So, yes.
And you know that. You've seen the show.
Come on now, fan. Groupie, right? So, my whole thing is, you thought that, quote unquote, the real person, Dr. Heavenly, whoever she is off camera and things like that, maybe even a contributor to the show. I'm not saying she have a title. I don't think she's a producer or anything like that, but she's a big contributor, an anchor of the show, right? When she invited you and said, and she basically put a word in for you, like, I think Sweet Tea would be great on the show. You thought like I had a friend. Well, you kind of do have a friend, but when that light turn on, and it's time for Dr. Heavenly to be... We turn into Married to Medicine to see Simone act like Simone.
Every man on
Toya act like Toya. And Dr. Heavenly to act like Dr. Heavenly. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, T's maid of honor told her how Dr. Heavenly was talking trash about her at the bachelorette party.
Doing her part.
Yes. And the thing is, Heavenly was saying that she talked about it because she felt that Greg was being controlling as she had the conversation with her when T told her she was being controlling. And Heavenly said that she was concerned about that. I'm not going to give concern. I think Heavenly is just doing her job and just spreading the mess and talking junk. And T, for you to come on this show as the new wife, they brought you for drama.
They did.
They brought you for drama. I don't get how she doesn't get that.
She thought
you're the new wife.
She thought she came to be best friends with Dr. Jackie. That's that's the only way. She thought she came there to basically be there with Dr. Jackie and Dr. Simone because she looked up to them. She watched the show. She said, "I'm really part of the girls."
No, they wanted to see you and Quad get into it.
Yes.
Thankfully Quad, they wasn't messing with Quad, so you really didn't have to be around her like that.
No.
But no, they wanted you and Quad to be in the same room as much as possible.
Yes.
Yes, that was the intention. I don't know how she couldn't see that.
No.
But Andy brings up how T talked about how Damon cheated on Heavenly. And T says that Heavenly's been talking about everything about her, including her endometriosis. Heavenly had an issue when I talked about the controlling thing.
Yeah.
Pretty much, she says T should join Dr. Heavenly University so she can learn how to stack her money for a plan B.
Oh, my goodness.
And then when they're talking about the infidelity, we see back into the men's quarters, and Damon is saying to G, I've known you for years. You think I would cheat on my wife? And Dr. G is pretty much like, I don't know what you do. But Damon wanted to hear a no. Dr. G gave him a no. They shook on it. They was cool.
Listen, that's how it is because they showed, like I said, she talks like a fan. She talks about this is Sweet Tea giving I guess they show like a clip of her live or something like that. That time that, Mariah said, and I'm like, you was never on the show with Mariah.
Right.
So why you quoting Mariah? Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? That's the blurred lines of you being a castmate and you being a fan of the show. And listen here, I agree with Dr. Damon with what he did. Because my thing is, if you are saying that I cheated or possibly cheated, what are you saying now that I'm in your face?
Yeah.
Are you going to say, I don't know? Are you going to say yes? Whatever you going to say is whatever my reaction is going to be based on what you say. Mm. So what are you going to say? I need a yes and I need a no. Mm-hmm. And he said no. And he shook his hand. He said, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, T asked, why did you say I was lying to my husband about me knowing about my endometriosis? Mm. And Heavenly said somebody asked her a question and basically was saying, what would you do in that position? Mm-hmm. And she said that she would have known much earlier because the doctor in her, if she was having any issues, she would have done the research and got diagnosed as soon as possible. Yeah. And Dr. Jackie pipes up and says that it's a chronic condition. It usually is 8 to 12 years for women to find out, and it can be even longer for Black women because they sometimes dismiss the pain. Mm. Now, the thing about the endometriosis and whether she knew about it or not, I mean, Dr. Heavenly throwing that out there really did at least rock my brain a little bit because for T to be putting baby emojis in DMs and her possibly knowing she has a health condition. I mean, it does make you look at it like, listen, like you was plotting. Makes it look that way.
I will never forgive Dr. Heavenly for putting that in my head, boy.
And the thing is, like T was saying, she had been to doctors, she was bleeding, she was having all these issues, and maybe she didn't necessarily know her diagnosis, but you knew something was wrong down there.
Listen here.
So it just puts a question in the audience's head of, okay, what was her real intentions?
Listen here.
So
I'm putting you on the spot. Blair, do you believe she was lying about her diagnosis?
I'm not going to answer that. You're not going to catch me on the soundbite. Okay. I ain't going to answer that. But it does make you think.
Listen here. She put that in my head. When Dr. Heavenly put that in my head and knowing what goes into, quote unquote, joining the military and the background check and the health check that they go through and things of that nature. Maybe listen here. I only know the man's side. I don't know the woman's side. Maybe the woman's side, they just let y'all in if y'all pretty. I don't know.
Okay.
Pretty and strong is what we want. But I know through the man's side, they go through a thorough background health check with you. So,
And then even in that moment, T was acting confused because she was like, so you would have known about my health condition before me? Are you listening to what we're talking about here?
Dr. Heavenly was like, no, I'm saying me. So how would you know about my condition? No, I said me.
If it was me.
Yes. You know what? Shut up, B. I'm like, okay, Dr. Heavenly.
I thought Heavenly was about to call her like dumb and slow at one point because Heavenly was really getting irritated. Of course. Do you hear what I'm saying to you? Well, Heavenly feels that T is trying to get a reaction out of her, and so she's just gonna pray for her.
So you say Heavenly feels like T is trying to get a reaction out of her?
Yeah.
Of course. Okay.
Yeah. Well, moving on, Dr. Alicia comes on stage.
Hello, Dr. Alicia.
And they said that everyone appeared to be in good spirits after Quad left the Napa trip. Okay. And Simone says that the first night was intense. Mm-hmm. Quad says that you're saying I'm a level of darkness, and that's not me. I'm a positive person. Mm-hmm. Simone says you are when you want to be, essentially.
And Simone, and I can say you are when you want to be too, Simone. So what does that mean?
We all can be whatever we want to be in any moment.
I know
any version of ourselves.
Be what I want to be. Like, what does that mean? Like, anybody can be positive when they want to be. So, Simone, I'm not buying that.
Right. Well, apparently that was the first time Kema was left alone with the kids. Okay. And he asked how Kema got away that long without having to watch the kids alone. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Alicia put it very eloquently that she enjoys being a mom. Yeah. And they're usually with her because he's usually working. Mm-hmm. And it's a divide and conquer type of situation. And then someone wrote in and asked, essentially, what does Kema do other than judge? And Dr. Alicia says that he has strong views and he holds true to what he believes in.
Hey, listen here. At the end of the day, that's their marriage.
Yeah.
And there's things I don't agree with and things that I do agree with. And if it works for them, if it floats their boat and don't sink it, I'm with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And then we get into the conversation about Heavenly, all the things, myriad of things that she has said about Toya throughout the years. And Andy asked, do you think that she's lazy? Do you think that she, doesn't work and all this types of stuff? And she was like, no, I'll give it to her. She works, but she is a lady of leisure.
Nice way to put it.
She still says Toya is lazy and lazy. And then Toya says, I do what I do and I make it look easy.
Okay, Toya, sure. I hear you, baby.
Yeah. Moving on, we see flashbacks of the ladies with their families. We see Simone with the boys when they were younger, and then we see Dr. Heavenly with Laura. I thought that scene was funny, especially with the pictures that T posted all over of Heavenly when she was heavier, and Heavenly talking about, why you didn't tell me I was big?
Daddy, why didn't you tell me?
And Laura talking about, yeah, I knew. I couldn't wrap my arms around you. Heavenly said you were 3. Come on. Anyway, that was cute. So Andy asked if Miles and Michael are keeping up with the rent. And at first, Simone looks like she's getting a little defensive, talking about, you mean the mortgage? And she's saying, no, like you put them on a rent plan, right? And Simone is just like, well, they have, one has a year, one has 2 years until they have to pay me rent. Hey, listen, so I guess we haven't got to that point yet.
That little dark cloud, you get right there, Simone, the little dark cloud came in. You think somebody's shading you? You used the word rent in the show.
Exactly. Toya says, Andy asked about the sexuality and sex convos.
Yeah, and being open.
And how open they are with Toya and Eugene's kids, because there was a vibrator that they talked about, or whatever the case may be in their flashback. And Toya says that essentially we're a good balance for the boys. One of the boys is like me. One of the boys is like Eugene. They can come to either of us with anything, and they know we'll be there for them.
That's nice. That's nice.
Quad said... tells a little story about how one of the boys unzipped her shirt when he was little, and Toya said, yes, he's going to be a physician.
Listen, that's a beautiful way to put it, Toya. Okay, listen here. I get it.
Yeah.
Yes, that was funny.
Yeah. And apparently, Alora, she's off to college, and they asked, has she called Dr. Jackie for any advice? And Dr. Jackie says, yes, but HIPAA. I'm not saying nothing.
Oh, boy, you ain't saying nothing when it came to Buffy, though. That HIPAA, I guess HIPAA got new terms that you had to agree to, I guess. Okay.
Right. Well, people wanted to know about the Enfamil that we saw in the background, and apparently Damon is allergic to milk, so he uses the Enfamil to mix in with some soy milk for a cereal.
Ew. Okay.
When Sweet Tea said that Heavenly's mom was in hell, it actually did bring Heavenly and her sister closer, because her sister called her. So she thanks Sweet Tea for saying that, so that way she could have a moment in time with her sister. Now they're talking and texting more often. And T, she kind of said that she misheard Heavenly on the live, because she thought Heavenly said go to hell, and she just responded with your mama.
Listen here, Sweet Tea.
Why are you so confused in these arguments, Steve?
If you didn't hear what she said, the worst thing to say is your mama.
Because apparently Heavenly said the show can go to hell.
Listen here. Just say what you say. That's all you have to say. I'm sure Heavenly would repeat it and probably put a cuss word at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing is with T, during this whole, whenever she's talking and there are debacles, I feel like she's barking at people. She is really upset. And I can understand, and this is her first season, and I do appreciate the rawness and the realness, but I feel like the energy is just, it's not matching what the people are giving you in the moment. And maybe because she's responding to social media versus actually what's happening.
Maybe.
But I feel like in the moment, people are actually not getting that worked up with her.
I mean,
but I think she's taking everything and putting it into this moment, and it's just to me, it's the energy is uneven.
I guess I'm not going to criticize that, because when Simone be hollering at the top of her lungs, we don't say nothing. When Heavenly be cussing and hollering at people, we don't say nothing either. So I'm like, if you go bark, Sweet Tea, if y'all want to call it barking and things like that, go ahead, holler away. Okay. Because when Simone starts yelling, boy, she starts yelling. You get what I'm saying?
And it's annoying.
Yeah, so that's why I'm like, okay.
They all do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we've got all the men together. Dr. G explains that Phaedra did ask him for the $4,000 and nothing physical happened between them in real life. He said there have been a couple times that he thought maybe, but it never really happened. Back with the ladies, they're kind of looking at T is that what your man got to say? Cecil hasn't talked to his golfing buddy, Tammy. Curtis says that he and Jackie are on a good path. Yeah. We see the reel of the guys throughout the season. And it was just so funny. And they talk about Greg inviting the stripper to the wedding. And G says that it crossed the line, but it was like a theoretical question, like invitation.
It wasn't real. You know what I mean?
And then they asked Dr. Damon about Laura leaving, how he's feeling. And he says that he really misses her all the time, like even to this day.
Okay.
Andy asked G why he taught her, talking about T, a lesson about locking up the house with the robbers. He thought it would put her in a space to where she would actually change her behavior, but when he said he did it, it just went completely left.
Oh yeah, when he staged quote unquote a lesson and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Listen. You only gotta just say lock the door.
Right.
Okay. Lock the door. Don't leave my house unlocked. Okay. Lock the door. We are in Atlanta.
Right.
You know what I mean? One thing I would say, I would advise everybody, it actually was a good interview. I know people have their say about Carlos King should be focusing on his show, on his station and things like that. But I think he really did a good interview with Dr. Eugene and Cecil and things like that.
Yeah.
And it definitely gives more background to his golfing buddy, Tammy, that they tried to paint as Simone didn't know who this woman was and she just popped up out of nowhere. That wasn't the case.
No.
To the point where Tammy was the godparent to the boys. You get what I'm saying? That Tammy was close with Simone's mom. Tammy and Simone went to London by themselves.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So you know, it definitely adds some type of depth to just the conversation than just this woman popped up and she just playing golf with my, you know, like, okay.
And I did appreciate during the interview where Dr. Eugene was saying how the men on this show, like, I feel like they're more involved than men on other shows because this show is really about people being married and actually having cast members who are married and looking into the life of their marriage.
Okay.
And so with that being the case, like, the men do have more opportunities to speak up than a lot of these other shows that focus on the women because they're so ingrained into the fibers of the show and what it's about.
Yeah.
So the men should be able to speak up when somebody is speaking on their family or, you know, putting them down or anything like that. And it shouldn't be taken as men and women's business when the show is about marriage.
Yeah.
And married people's friendships and relationships.
Yeah.
So anyway, moving on. Andy asked Kema to explain the whole cutting off the nuts comment. And Kema said that he always heard happy wife, happy life when he came to this country.
Yeah.
He's Nigerian, but he was raised in Jamaica.
Yeah.
And then he said that he's not going to make his wife happy to his detriment.
I agree.
And I agree with that. Happy spouse, happy house. You know, make sure everybody's good.
Let's just stay away from the nursery rhymes. Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Eugene says that when you spoke about doing too much as far as leadership, women doing too much as far as leadership.
Yeah.
Kema says that you're taking it out of context. He says that I said in relationships. And Eugene was like, no, like you said about women being leadership in general.
These women need to get out of the leadership position or whatever Kema said.
And my thing is like, yeah, Kema, you're switching up your tone now.
I have no problem with him switching up.
Yeah.
I have no problem with him switching up.
Eugene feels that he and Toya are equal, but it doesn't make him any less of a man. Kema thinks that when it comes down to decisions, somebody has to lead, and it's more like a 51-49.
Yeah, that's fake too.
Damon says that good leaders don't have to say anything.
Okay.
And Alicia, she likes for men to take charge.
Support your husband. I like that, Dr. Alicia.
Kema is telling them that it was a culture shock, but because he met Alicia, she's a graceful Southern woman with Southern values, so it was an easier transition for him. And Curtis point blank tells him, you can't train your wife. Listen, you can't train nobody.
As much as like this scene was good, those guys are not in position that Dr. Kema's in. The only ones that probably could be in that position is probably Dr. Damon and Dr. Eugene.
And I would say only Dr. Damon.
And things like that. Yeah, even so, I'll probably put him in there because Toya just started making more money than him based off the show.
Right.
But based off being the sole providers of the family, or most of the providers, with Dr. Kema, he's like, listen here, when it comes to leadership and things like that, we're not equals. When it comes to making a decision, we're not equals. So with Dr. Eugene, one thing that I was talking to Blair outside the show was that you see your wife as an equal. And when I say equal, I'm not talking about as a person. Everybody should be respected as a person, humanity. Yes, right? But a lot of times, Dr. Eugene forfeits his power and things like that. So the power that he has to make decisions and things of that nature, in the sense of like, where they live, selling the house, not selling the house, working overtime and things like that. He gives the power to Toya so she can feel included. And that may work in some instances, but that may not work in some instances the way you now have to fix the mistakes that both of y'all decided on.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? Because my thing is, if you're going to include her on the decisions because y'all equals, then you going to take the blame too. Mm-hmm. That's why every time I get into Toya and things like that on the show, or the characteristics that she showed on the show, I always point it right back to Eugene.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if y'all equals, you basically watched as y'all basically sold your house while you worked overtime, had IRS problems. Just like, you was there. You wasn't there to lead.
Yeah.
To where Dr. Kema is basically saying, if I leave it up to her, we be in the poorhouse. Mm-hmm. Now, do I believe that 100%? I don't know. The man said, I don't know him.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But he takes leadership to the point where he's like, hey, look, I feel like if we going to make it, it's going to be based off of my decisions. And if we don't make it, I'm going to take 100% of the blame too.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, like, I know what Dr. Damon said, like, real leaders don't got to say anything. But one thing about, I would say, those that want to say that they're leaders, if you go give me 100% of the credit of the decisions that we make, I'm going to take 100% of the blame when it don't work out too.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? So, yeah.
Yeah. And then we go on, and Jackie is saying that it's really ignorant when Kema talks about training a woman. And Kema says that you can't train a person, but coming from different cultures, you have to educate each other.
Yeah.
And he says train like as a joke.
Yeah.
And that's what Dr. Alicia says. But I will say one thing with Dr. Kema. I appreciate his rawness and what he says, because I want to know where you really stand. Don't sugarcoat it for me. Mm-hmm. Like, I really want to know what you believe. And I felt like he was kind of sugarcoating now during the reunion, because maybe he saw the playback, some of the reactions.
You were like, oh, yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and maybe he didn't necessarily mean to say the things he was saying, or to have them taken the way they were taken. Because even Dr. Alicia was saying, when they were on the boat, he says train, but he's joking. Yeah. And then the women are like, that don't sound like a joke to me.
Well, to me, I told you from day one that he's joking with the word train. Yeah. Because sometimes people say things to get a reaction. Yeah. And when he's saying train, he's saying that to get a reaction. He's not really saying it in a way to, well, quote unquote, you put a leash on her and you tell her sit, walk, heel, and all that stuff. He's saying it for people to basically, for it to sting. It's supposed to sting. And stuff like that. Even when they show the flashback of her putting the napkin on his lap, he was like, Eugene, train. You get what I'm saying? He's doing it to basically get a reaction. Now, what he means behind the word, he put it in better words. Yeah. But he's basically trying to get a reaction. And here's the thing. He's not trying to get a reaction for people to like him. He's just trying to get a reaction. Yeah. So I was like, I understand the joke. And my thing is, I'm never going to be more offended if the wife is not offended. If the wife is sticking up for him, who am I to be like, no, girl?
The only issue I have is his leadership commentary, because I'm just like, I don't want to work nowhere you work.
Listen here.
Because if I've got to sit up here and ask you for orders or whatever the case may be, and like you don't like the way I'm running things, like who knows what you're going to say. And I know I don't know him professionally, and I can't speak for him. I don't care. But I'm just saying that I don't like the mindset of thinking women can't be in leadership like that. And he tried to say just in relationships, and I'm hoping that's what he really means, and maybe he was at the bar just talking loose. But the way he said it originally sounded like women shouldn't be leading nothing.
Yeah, I mean,
and to me, that's where I take issue.
Listen, there's always issue with that, because my thing is, to Blair's point, she likes his rawness because you get to see where he stand. The truth behind what he stand is that majority of men feel what he feels, but they're not gonna say it. Okay. So many times tonight, you will find yourself under a leadership to where you don't know how they feel. But if you look through their history, they never had a woman in position of power. They never had any the pay with women is not equal, or like it doesn't exceed. So it's being said, but it's not being said as raw, or it's not being said verbally as Dr. Kema is quote unquote putting his mouth to it, which I'll be like, I don't know why you put your mouth to it. But it is evident that the disadvantages that women have, especially during, Women's Month, shout out to y'all in March and things of that nature. But it is very evident that we as men need to do better of liking women. I always say all the time, subconsciously, men don't like women based on how they treat women. Yeah. And things like that. But like you said, I ain't going to speak of it anymore or any passionately if if Dr. Alicia's not speaking of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, listen, that's your husband. You got to live with that. I ain't got to live with that.
None of my business.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, that's all we got. That's it.
Oh, no. Something happens at the end.
Oh, yeah. Everybody goes to sit down.
Yeah.
There is an extra chair that they can't really tell if it's behind Phaedra or Quad. Mm-hmm. Who walks in? Apollo.
Why? Why do Apollo walk in? What did you feel about when Apollo walked in?
I was like, why is he here? The only thing I was like, the only thing he can talk about is why he wasn't at his kid's party. He don't know what happened this season. He was not present. Mm-hmm. So what is he here to talk about? So
you wasn't drooling with like the other women when like Apollo walked in?
No, I was like, why is he here?
He walked in. He had a nice fitted suit. He had a chest open a little bit. He had the little diamond chain on, the nice cutted beard and things like that. Toya couldn't keep her mouth closed. I saw you, Toya.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying? Toya can keep her mouth closed. Dr. Henry was like, oh my God, it's him. And I'm like, I'm not hip to the whole Housewives of Atlanta. So yeah. I don't know his backstory of why Apollo matters to Married to Medicine.
I think they were just shocked to see him.
I guess. But I don't know why he's there. How do y'all feel about Apollo being there? Because I'm like, I feel like Andy was like, Phaedra, you did not do good this season. You have to give me something. Bring Apollo on or something. And I think this is her quote unquote, hey guys, this is my contribution to the season.
Yeah.
Outside of everything else. And truth be told, Married to Medicine doesn't need Phaedra. But like I said, only reason why I say doesn't need Phaedra because she's a known reality TV personality. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give her the same grace as I give Sweet Tea. It's her first time on this show. Mm-hmm. So maybe get the cobwebs out. It's been a while since she's been back. I heard she's doing good on Traders and things of that nature.
Yeah, she was phenomenal.
But my thing is, this is Married to Medicine. This is about married couples, husbands and wives, relationships and things of that nature. So I feel like next season, you got to come with somebody.
Yep.
Anything else?
That's all we got.
Y'all be good.
Bye.